Great pleasure right now to have joining us a man who knows all about travel. He is the senior editor for Travelzoo, part of the lifegoesstrong.com websites, and is going to give us some tips on the summer travel deals. We're joined by Gabe Saglie today. Gabe, thanks for being with us. How are you?
It is my pleasure, Doug. Good to be with you.
Summertime just started yesterday, this week, and I guess in the past couple of years, Gabe, people have been kind of doing the old staycation, staying at home, but has that trend changed a little bit? Seems like the economy's picking up a little bit.
Well, I think that the staycation was born, if you recall, back in 2008. June of 2008, gas prices went through the roof. The costs were, very uncomfortable at the pump. The staycation was born because airfare did climb considerably that summer. And now that we're seeing airfare, in fact, go up because fuel prices have gone up, I think people are still revisiting the staycation concept and really becoming a budgeting issue. I mean, if you are just a couple, there are ways to get away and save some money, even with airfare higher this year, about 10 to 20% higher than last summer. If you've got 2 or 3 kids you've got to try to take with you, you look at slightly higher airfare, you look at baggage fees, and maybe the drive is still the most viable option for you. So I think the staycation concept is getting renewed attention this particular summer.
You mentioned the baggage fees airlines started to charge a few years ago. I read somewhere it was a couple of $1 billion that they've generated from that. Has that really slowed people down, though, from flying, or has that affected the industry at all?
Well, the way I see it is, last year the airline industry made $4.3 billion on these fees. I hear people are complaining about them more. I don't know if people are really cutting back on their actual air travel per se. I mean, the demand I think is still there. I think people are now more anxious, not so much to completely drop the idea of traveling or flying, but really about finding ways how to circumvent some of these fees. There are little ways that you can still, try to circumvent these fees. They're here to stay. I don't think these fees, when you can make $4 billion off of them, why you want to get rid of them? We just need to budget those into it. So if you've got a really good fare, keep in mind that if you are going to be checking bags, that could be, if you've got 2 bags, $50 per traveler each way, so that's $100 round trip. If you've got a family of 4 that's going to be doing that, that could really actually end up being more expensive than the actual airfare, depending on where you're going. So it's just got to be budgeted in, and wherever possible, try to obviously circumvent these fares. It's amazing. I fly from coast to coast weekly, and these tags that people are carrying on board have gotten bigger and bigger. Obviously, we don't want to pay these fees, but they are a way that the airline industry is able to pad the bottom line in an era of increased fuel costs for them.
And a lot less food, too, on board, unless you bring yourself, right?
Well, it has become an era of being a very creative traveler, and really fending for yourself. I mean, you can bring food on board. I'm not a huge fan of the person who sits next to me and they just bought a tuna sandwich right outside the gate. Not a huge fan of that, but I get it. It's either that or paying $10 for a sandwich that's half the size. I travel with my 5 and 3-year-old all the time, so we each have a little DVD player. So your own entertainment, bring it on. I mean, pretty much bring anything on board that might, make the travel more enjoyable, but also it will end up saving you money along the way.
It used to be when I was a kid, flying was a fun thing to do. You kind of look forward to it. Now you tolerate it, don't you, just to get where you're going?
I was lucky enough that my parents took me on flights regularly when I was a little kid, and there was some of that as well. I still love to fly. I'm flying several times a week these days. I still love the concept of flying quite a bit. But yes, really it's about surviving the current reality. I think this is an era where the loyalty is starting to become an important factor now, where the pricing among the airlines is pretty much on par. I mean, the low-cost carriers and what the bigger legacy carriers will charge you is oftentimes very similar. They match each other. So really, if you can stick to a particular airline or a particular alliance of airlines, loyalty within a couple of flights will pay off. You'll get the kind of status that allows you to board first, get on the aisle seat versus the middle seat. Frequent flyers can actually avoid baggage fees altogether. So I think with these fees not going away, the idea of maybe sticking to a carrier or a couple of carriers that service your airport or where you like to go does can actually, in the long run, pay off.
Do you recommend going on some of the sites that, booking it yourself? I guess people have kind of gotten away from using travel agents, haven't they?
Well, the fact of the matter is that everything you need to book a great vacation does exist online. Now, how comfortable we are individually with the online phenomenon is an individual thing. But, I honeymooned 8 years ago. If I were to do it again today, I would actually do it, online, and I know I would save about 50% of what I paid for, going through a very good travel agent 8 years ago. You want to stay connected. The more connected you are as a traveler, the better odds at getting deals, because that's a lot of these sales are released exclusively through online, whether it's online travel alerts, social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. Sometimes these sales are short-lived, 24, 48 hours, and oftentimes exclusively released through these online channels. So there's no denying the fact that by being selective, but also being as connected as you possibly can, you're going to have a much better way of saving money, of stretching your travel dollar when you do plan your next vacation.
Talking with Gabe Saglie of Travelzoo website, part of the LifeGoStrong.com series of websites. Gabe, for those of us down here listening in the Tampa Bay, Sarasota area, a lot of people in Florida like to go north in the summer for vacation. You got any tips for those folks?
Yeah, and what's interesting is that I do travel the country, promoting money or value-rich destinations for the summer season. And Tampa in southern Florida is really on the top of that list. Some great values as you head towards summer, particularly now throughout the state of Florida. For people who are heading north, July and August, depending on how far north you go, but a lot of these northeastern cities do offer some of the best rates in July and summer because it does get a little bit muggier in cities like New York, D.C., and Boston, but particularly on weekends, the rates will drop in some cases 50% or more. And if you're traveling within state, there are just the number of incentives for in-state residents at things like theme parks and even resorts has really ballooned. We're now on a property-to-property basis. You can find some pretty good incentives and discounts because you live within the state that you are traveling in. Again, do as much research you do before you hit the road, the more these incentives will trickle your way.
Gas prices, even though still very high, have come down a little bit, at least in the last couple of weeks. Seems like about 30 or 40 cents. I don't know if that's going to stay or not, but is that affecting the way people plan their vacation?
I think that we haven't seen a dramatic change in airfare pricing yet, because that's the most immediate way that people are noticing this is at the gas pump. So right. I do think that this travel by car concept is, particularly for last-minute vacation planners.
Better deal.
Yeah, definitely a better deal. And as are alternate modes of transportation like trains and buses now, more high-end bus lines that have come onto the scene now that do offer just a viable alternative to travel by air. I'm not knocking air travel because I do it all the time and I love it, but there are ways now to really circumvent some of the unavoidable costs that come with traveling the friendly skies.
And of course, hotels, you see a lot of ads for different sites that you can almost bid your own price in a hotel room. I guess there's a lot of inventory out there, right?
Yeah, well, that's one of the silver linings is that although airfare is a little bit higher this year, is the fact that resorts and hotels have gotten very, very aggressive as a way. They know that people may not come here because airfare is up. So if we get our prices, either really drop our prices, if we sweeten these deals by offering things like upgrades and free breakfasts and discounted show tickets and that sort of thing, spa discounts, golf discounts, then people might be that much more willing to take a little bit of a hit on the airfare. So yes, we're seeing particularly throughout the state of Florida, throughout the South, places like the Caribbean, the Atlantis Resort on Paradise Island just launched the biggest sale they have ever done, where all their rooms are discounted 65%. They're offering airfare credits of $250 for bookings by July 5th. So the Atlantis this resort is doing something that aggressive, that means that pretty much everyone else is going to follow suit. Great deals out of Mexico, the American Southwest, and they're destinations where these hotels and resorts are literally slashing prices 50 to 75% as a way to get people incentivized to hit the road and do some last minute vacation planning.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a fun job there, Gabe, traveling around. You get to write about travel for a Travelzoo. Also, you also blog on Life Goes Strong, so not a bad gig, huh?
Then we've got it. Well, I do log a lot of miles but I still, I think because of the fact that I got to traveling when I was such a young kid, I'm still romanced by the concept of traveling. And to these days, turned on by the fact that there are ways to really stretch the travel dollar. I mean, people hold back on traveling because they just assume that getting from point A to point B is going to be expensive, when in fact, a lot of what I'm doing now is showing people tricks of the trade and ways to still maximize that vacation. And these days you can get these 4 and 5 star name brands like Four Seasons and Ritz Carltons at prices that simply did not exist before, because the industry has gotten to the point where they have to cater now to the budgetary demands of the consumer. And so we do flex a certain amount of muscle with our travel dollar here, and it's I'm all about showing people how to use that travel dollar most effectively.
Yeah, that's great. And people can get a hold of you through the website as well. If they want to send you an email or ask you a question, can they do that?
Travelzoo.com is our site, and as you mentioned, I'm a guest blogger these days on lifegoesstrong.com as well, where a lot of good tips are being funneled through. But the beauty of Travelzoo is we don't sell travel. We are a publisher of travel deals exclusively, travel, entertainment, and local deals. We negotiate these deals with thousands of hotels and airlines and vacation providers and cruises across the world, and it's just a great resource for people who are looking for some great bargains, especially at a time when things are playing ball the way it's not played before.
That's great. Well, Gabe, appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with us today here in the Tampa Bay, Sarasota area. Look forward to talking to you again maybe sometime in the fall when people plan their holiday trips.
You bet, Doug. Anytime. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed.